Imagine a bill so massive, so sweeping, it's been called the Big Beautiful Bill by none other than President Donald J. Trump himself. Signed into law on July 4, 2025, with fireworks bursting over the White House, this 1,116-page behemoth promises to reshape America. Your taxes, your healthcare, your groceries, your borders, and even your kids' future. But is it truly beautiful, or is there a hidden cost behind the red, white, and blue fanfare? Buckle up, because we're diving deep into what's really inside this game-changing legislation, and what it means for you. Let's start with food on the table. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, once known as food stamps, helps roughly 42 million Americans buy groceries every month. But the Big Beautiful Bill shakes things up big time. It slashes federal funding for SNAP by about $267 to $300 billion over the next decade. States will now have to pick up 5% to 25% of the benefit costs starting in 2028, depending on their payment error rates. If your state's error rate is above 6%, they're on the hook for more, potentially leaving less money for other services. And here's the kicker. The bill raises the work requirement age for SNAP from 54 to 64 for able-bodied adults without kids under 7. That means if you're 60, healthy, and childless, you'll need to prove you're working, volunteering, or in training for at least 80 hours a month to keep your benefits. Critics warn this could strip benefits from 3 to 8 million people, including seniors and low-income families, while supporters claim it's about rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities estimates 1 in 5 SNAP recipients could lose access entirely. If you or your family rely on SNAP, this could mean tighter budgets and emptier plates. Hold onto your stethoscopes, because healthcare is taking a major hit. The Big Beautiful Bill cuts Medicaid funding by a staggering $930 billion to $1 trillion over 10 years, the largest cut in the program's history. Medicaid, which covers over 71 million low-income Americans, including kids, seniors, and the disabled, now faces strict new rules. Starting as early as January 2027, able-bodied adults aged 19 to 64 without young kids must work, volunteer, or attend school for 80 hours a month to keep coverage. Miss the paperwork? You're out. The bill also requires income and residency checks every 6 months, which critics call a paperwork trap, designed to kick people off. The Congressional Budget Office, CBO, estimates 11.8 to 16 million Americans could lose coverage by 2034, including 1.4 million undocumented immigrants who currently get state-funded care in 14 states. A new $35 copay for some services could also deter low-income folks from seeking care, especially if hospitals get stuck with unpaid bills. Rural hospitals, already on shaky ground, face cuts to provider taxes used to fund Medicaid, though a $50 billion stabilization fund aims to soften the blow. Still, experts warn 300-plus rural hospitals could face service cuts or closure. On the flip side, Republicans argue these changes target fraud and protect Medicaid for the truly needy. If you're on Medicaid, brace for more hoops to jump through, or risk losing your lifeline. Tax changes for seniors, families, and workers now. Let's talk money in your pocket. The Big Beautiful Bill makes Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent, keeping lower tax rates and doubling the standard deduction to $15,750 for individuals and $31,500 for couples. Seniors get a $6,000 deduction, $12,000 for couples, if they earn under $75,000, $150,000 for couples, phasing out for higher earners. This could save the average senior about $720 a year, though it's less than the full Social Security tax break Trump promised. Workers get a break too. Tips and overtime pay are tax-free through 2028, capped at $25,000 and $12,500 respectively. If you're a waiter or a factory worker pulling extra shifts, that's more cash in hand, temporarily. The state and local tax, SALT, deduction cap jumps from $10,000 to $40,000 for households earning under $500,000, a win for high-tax states like New York. Small businesses see their Section 199A deduction rise to 23%, boosting Main Street. But here's the catch. The Yale Budget Lab says low-income folks lose out due to SNAP and Medicaid cuts, while the top 20% of earners pocket 72% of the tax benefits. The CBO projects the bill adds $3.03 to $4.01 trillion to the deficit, despite Republican claims of $2 trillion in savings through growth and efficiency. So, while your taxes might drop, the safety net could fray beneath you. Families, listen up. The bill introduces Trump accounts, tax-deferred savings accounts for kids born between 2024 and 2028. The government chips in $1,000 per child, and parents can add up to $5,000 a year. These funds can grow until age 18, usable for education, home down payments, or starting a business, though withdrawals are taxed at capital gains rates. It's a nod to long-term wealth building, but only for a narrow group. The child tax credit also gets a boost, rising permanently to $2,200, Senate, or $2,500, House, dropping to $2,000 after 2028. However, non-citizens without social security numbers can't claim it, even if their kids are U.S. citizens. This could hit immigrant families hard. Supporters say it's a pro-family move. Critics call it a giveaway that excludes the most vulnerable. Either way, it's a mixed bag for parents. Energy policy takes a sharp turn. The bill guts Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, phasing out tax credits for electric vehicles, EV, home EV chargers, and renewable energy projects like wind and solar by 2025-2026. The $7,500 EV credit vanishes, and the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund is axed, halting support for green community projects. Meanwhile, fossil fuels get a boost. Oil, gas, and coal projects see faster permitting, lower royalties, and expanded public land leasing. Critics, like Senator Ron Wyden, call this a death sentence for America's wind and solar industries, predicting job losses and higher utility bills. The New York Times warns it could cede clean energy leadership to China. Republicans argue it's about energy dominance and refilling the strategic petroleum reserve. If you're betting on green jobs or cheaper EVs, this bill might leave you in the dust. Students and borrowers, take note. The bill overhauls federal student loans. Biden's loan forgiveness programs are repealed, and new borrowing caps kick in. $257,500 lifetime for all federal loans, $50,000 per year for professional degrees, and $20,000 per year for Parent Plus loans. Graduate Plus loans are gone, potentially hiking costs for grad students. Repayment options shrink to two: a standard 10 to 25-year plan or a means-tested repayment assistance plan, 1-10% of principal. On-time payers get $50 per payment matched by the government, and unpaid interest is waived, with balances forgiven after 30 years. Pell Grants expand for workforce training, but a 21% tax on university endowments could raise tuition at elite schools. Critics say this limits access to education. Supporters claim it curbs debt and promotes accountability. If you're a student, expect tighter budgets and fewer options. The border gets a massive overhaul. The bill pumps $46.5 billion into border wall construction, $45 billion for detention capacity, and $30 billion for ICE hiring and training, aiming to deport 1 million immigrants annually. Asylum seekers now face a $100 fee, down from $1,000, and states using their own funds to cover undocumented immigrants lose Medicaid dollars. A 1 to 3.5% tax on remittances sent abroad adds another layer. The CBO estimates 1.4 million undocumented immigrants could lose health care, and lawfully present immigrants like refugees may lose ACA subsidies. Republicans call it a historic border security win. Critics, including the Brennan Center, warn ICE's $100 billion budget makes it the largest federal law enforcement agency, risking overreach. If immigration affects you or your community, this could reshape your reality. How does this all come together? The bill uses budget reconciliation to pass with a simple majority, bypassing filibusters. The Senate's Byrd rule stripped out some provisions, like AI regulation bans and Planned Parenthood defunding, but most survived. The debt ceiling rises by $5 trillion to cover the bill's $3.03 to $4.01 trillion deficit impact. Implementation starts fast. Medicaid work requirements hit by 2026-2027, SNAP changes by 2028, and border funds flow immediately. Legal challenges loom, especially on immigration and healthcare cuts. The White House insists the bill's savings and growth will offset costs, but the CBO and think tanks like the Center for a Responsible Federal Budget disagree, warning of accelerated Social Security and Medicare insolvency. Expect court battles and state-level pushback as this bill rolls out. So, what's the verdict? The big beautiful bill is a high-stakes gamble. If you're a senior, tipped worker, or parent, you might see more money in your pocket, temporarily. But if you rely on Medicaid or SNAP, or dream of a green energy future, you could face a tougher road. The bill's tax cuts favor higher earners, while its spending cuts hit the poorest hardest, potentially widening inequality. Border security and fossil fuels get a boost, but at the cost of healthcare access and clean energy jobs. Students face new loan limits, and immigrants face stricter rules. This isn't just a bill, it's a vision of America's future, for better or worse. Whether you see it as a bold step forward or a reckless rollback depends on where you stand. One thing's certain, its effects will ripple through your wallet, your community, and your life for years to come. So, what do you think, beautiful or a beast?